Hello, everybody. This topic, I know not a lot of people could understand it, interested in it, but I think if I die, I'm pretty happy to say it. And according to the circumstance, I know it's kind of sensitive to talk about it, so I use English to do it. And because even though the Chinese people who can understand English like this level may be more reasonable, more make sense. So the topic is using a cancel logic to understand China. Maybe China to you is awful, mysterious, complicated, but maybe if you are Cancer, you will feel yourself much more easier to understand Chinese people. And because my ASC is Cancer too, so it feels like it's kind of my duty, my job to understand Cancer, understand Chinese people. You know where to step because you understand it. If you have zero Cancer energy, you may just think it's mysterious, couldn't understand. But if you have a stronger Cancer energy or moon energy, you will know it. So the keyword of Cancer is bloody safety. I find this word is pretty annoying. You know that for the Chinese people, for the safety, they will do everything. So the first thing is food. You know, Cancer is associated with food, and Chinese food is pretty famous. People all around the world enjoy Chinese food. But if you understand Chinese people at some point, you will feel that. And it feels like the only thing they care is food. They talk about it all the time. And you know, one of my auntie, maybe a lot of auntie, maybe they travel to Egypt, they travel to Europe, and the feedback when they come back is say the food there is not good. So as you can see, it's up to pretty insane level and sometimes even make me feel uncomfortable. So food is about building the feeling of safety because if you have nothing to eat, you will die. So I think the Chinese people love food. What behind it is because they always feeling about survival, always struggling with being alive. And then you know, China has a lot of farm and a lot of people still a farmer, but in a pretty low labor level. All they're thinking about is to work super hard and how to survive this year, how to get as much as they could. Even though you see someone is already become a citizen, and then maybe they look pretty decent, pretty modern to you, but inside you will feel that the farmer is still there. And then the second thing is Chinese people hate something they couldn't understand. You know, because Cancer is all about the past. They always immerse themselves in memories, and because that is something they familiar, they could understand, but it means they couldn't look forward. They don't like something surprise, something they couldn't get it. Because the keyword is bloody safety, if you bring something totally new, they couldn't understand it and it feels like to them, you're bringing the risk, you're bringing danger, so that is not allowed. For example, the foreign language, foreign culture, they couldn't understand it because maybe at some point they're still a farmer. You know that, so why Chinese people hate the ocean, hate ocean culture country, hate foreigner. And that is pretty much like how Chinese people think about Elon Musk. And then much more worse is as a creative person, as a designer in China, it feels like, okay, you're so creative, you make something new. And because it brings back to the same old question, it's new, it means it's risky and your boss isn't happy to buy it. And this is why Chinese people more like foreign designer, because as a foreigner, they already see something is successful from you and that it feels safety. So a lot of people are pretty happy to buy foreign thing, foreign luxury product. And also prove why so difficult to have a real free market in China, because if you're free, it means it will bring a lot of risk, a lot of things that they couldn't understand, and that is not allowed. Everything have to be under control to get the safety feeling. And the third thing is aggressive. You know the Cancer, the crab, it has this thing, right? And is dangerous. It could hurting people. It could maybe cut your finger. So even though as we learn about astrology, Cancer is about warm, caring, they're pretty nice, but just the surface as a cardinal sign. So as you can see, to build up a safety feeling, protecting ourselves is perfectly justified. But when it goes to an insane level, it will become another thing. In Chinese, we call 先下手为强. Before you hurt me, I hurt you first to build up the safety. And even other people is not going to hurt you, but as long as they have the ability to hurt you, that is also work. To you, to other country, maybe you will find China pretty aggressive, always bullying other small countries. But to themselves, it's all about bloody safety. Because to themselves, it feels like I'm the victim all the time. So anyway, you're gonna hurt me, so I protect myself. That is perfectly justified. And I know there is a professional term. It's called passive-aggressive personality. It's work for individual person, but also work for the whole mindset of Chinese people. Technically, it feels like as long as I'm the victim, I can do whatever I want. And then the next thing is controlling. Cancer and Capricorn is the opposite side. So the hidden face of Cancer is Capricorn. And so they're also pretty controlling. And this is pretty interesting and awful. It feels like that is the dictator's logic. They won't feel like I control everything to build up my achievement. It feels like because it's something in danger and I have to bring everybody together and I have to make up a lot of rules, just like when we having COVID-19. There are tons of rules. You can go there, you can't go here, you couldn't do this, you have to wear a mask. And people, why they allowed to do it? Because they were in danger. And this is why Chinese people always hate Japan, always hate America, because we have to build up an enemy. And as long as they have an enemy, and people will be obey, will be stick together and listen to you. And that is pretty much like dictator's mind. But really, if you really care so much about safety, what should you do? The things I can think of, maybe using a winner's way, being diplomatic, and you make a lot of friends. And once you're in danger, your friend will help you. And then you could choose to use a Mercury way, because Mercury is about analyzing everything, understanding everything. If plan A couldn't work, you could choose plan B, plan C. The point is you have to let A, B, C, D, E, F, G coexisting. But all through the history, all the time, they choose the Capricorn way, means controlling everything. And this maybe go back to the point two, is they can't trust things they could understand. Making an ally, what if they betray you? And then the last thing I want to talk about is obedience. You know, Confucianism is pretty popular in China, even the East Asia. So I think it's pretty sorry to other East Asia country. This belief is decided by the emperor himself. So the whole thing, the whole intention is make his subject to be obeyed. So they always teach you, don't argue with your boss, your supervisor, your parents. So that is why Asian parenting is so awful. It is from every small family inside. So it's not allowed to let the children talk back to their parents, to say something against their parents. And because if you do so, you will be condemned. And so the children is so scared to living under the fear feeling all through their childhood. And because if a children is disobedient, when they grow up, they won't against their boss. So they won't against the emperor. So this is all about the social order, so much like the Capricorn logic. But the side effect is, so when an awful person getting out, they could get granted. They will be respected no matter what, because you couldn't against them. And that kind of environment is allowed awful old people to be everywhere. And you know, both Cancer and Capricorn are cardinal sign. It means they really want to achieve something. Let people remember. They want to ruling people. They want to be the king of something. So this is why, even though they look pretty obedient, never argue, never talk back, but inside I think is something still going on. Inside their desire is still want to be ruler one day. One day we could still controlling people. So when they are young, they are just nobody, they will be pretty nice. But when they get older, they get the high position in the society, they always become a dictator. Finally, this is basically what I want to talk about this topic so far, and maybe if we'll go further. But I have to be careful about it because not every Chinese person will be like that. When you see someone individually as a person, no matter where they come from, it shouldn't be like this. Will be a lot of difference. So what I'm talking about is when you see the Chinese people as the whole thing, the whole feeling, you will think about the Chinese people and what they're doing in the whole group as the whole thing. And it also means not every cancer is that bad. It's all about choice and consequence. So it's still a lot of possibility to become a better cancer. More importantly, all through the history, China is not always this bad. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. When I was kids, like when I in primary school and up to high school maybe, it's not that awful. And as a geologist, I always find out that Chinese culture could pretty associate with cancer. Like we are mysterious because we are not focused on logic. So to other people to see, it feels like mysterious and deal with things really emotionally, doing things irrational just for satisfy their feeling, and also could be really romantic. So this is all for this one. Thank you. See you next time.